Gives it up, gets it back. Picked up on the switch. Turns, fires another three. Got another one! Unbelievable! Unbelievable!
Jake Layman had a very interesting season by many standards. First off, his meteoric rise into the Blazers' rotation, where he was looking like the most improved Blazer over the first 2/3 of the season. And then, the last third, his weird regression back to pretty much the player he was before. Now, was that due to a lack of playing time after the Blazers acquired Rodney Hood and Jake Layman not feeling comfortable in his role anymore? Or could that have been a sign that he was overachieving during his first 2/3 of the season in what is a contract year? For the season, Jake shot 51% from the field and 33% from 3. He shot almost 65% from 2-point range, which is a very efficient mark, and pretty much all of those were alley-oop dunks and dunks off backdoor cuts. He achieved almost 15 points per 36 minutes with 6 rebounds a game, which is pretty good when you look at it. And he was efficient. He had a 59.4 true shooting percentage. But to get a better picture of what Jake's season was like, you have to look at his pre-All-Star splits compared to his post-All-Star splits. Before the All-Star break, he had a true shooting percentage of 63.6%. After the All-Star break, he had a true shooting percentage of only 51.9%, and that is pretty below average. Now, his three-point shot fell apart mightily down the stretch. In the month of March alone, Jake shot 14% from the three-point line. He shot 36 threes and only made 5 of them. Now that is pretty big regression from a guy who before the month of March was shooting around 36-37% from the three-point line. But his shooting isn't the only part of his game which regressed. One of his biggest strengths throughout the entire season was his off-ball movement and his cutting. He knew precisely when to backdoor cut, and he would cut hard. And once he would get the ball, he would finish strong. He was a great alley-oop target and a threat running in transition. When he wasn't running though, he was knocking down those threes, and it really made him a multifaceted player. But from the All-Star break on, that off-ball movement disappeared. What was one of his biggest strengths and one of the reasons why he was so improved, all of a sudden wasn't a factor in his game at all. He was consistently standing in the corner, not backdoor cutting, not even really looking for lob passes, not running that hard in transition. It's weird that that part of Jake's game, which is completely controllable and not subject to variance like three-point shooting, it was just weird how all of a sudden he just stopped moving off the ball. Now, Jusuf Nurkic was a huge part in Jake Layman's game this season, as Layman's cutting and movement off the ball was often rewarded by the Bosnian Beast. Some would say losing Nurkic late in March had a profound effect on Jake Layman's game because we didn't have that high post passer to be able to feed Layman the ball. But I don't agree, because these problems started long before Nurkic got hurt. These problems started at the end of February or at the beginning of March. He just seemed to get more uninterested in the action on the court, and I think that was shown by his stagnation of his off-ball movement. It was the first time all season that I can comfortably say that there were stretches where his three-point shot wasn't falling and he was letting that affect other areas of his game. Before, he didn't really worry too much about his three-point shot. If he wasn't hitting, he would look for other ways to impact, moving off the ball, hustling, getting rebounds, working hard to play good defense. But his shooting slump in March seemed to affect those other areas of his game, where he just wasn't as locked in mentally. He seemed to be aiming his three-point shot, which means focusing a little too hard on trying to make a shot, which in turn results in a lot more misses, and I think it got into his head a little bit. So now that leaves us with him being a restricted free agent going into the offseason, and he's in a very precarious position. I have no clue how much he'll get paid. He might accept the qualifying offer for $1.9 million, which would probably be the best case scenario for Portland, but a team could also see what he did last season, especially earlier in the year, and really want that guy on their roster and could possibly be willing to overpay him, much like the Brooklyn Nets overpaid Allen Crabbe. Now, going into next season, Jake's really going to need to improve his three-point shot. Shooting under 33% from the season isn't good, and I know he had a good few months at the start of the year, but I still don't think he's a good enough shooter to consistently shoot 36 or 37% from the three-point line for an entire season. And being able to knock down threes really really opens up his game. He's able to attack off the dribble when he's hitting threes because guys have to close out on him hard, and he's able to use a pretty quick first step to be able to blow by guys and get downhill towards the rim. Now, if he's not hitting threes, guys don't have to close out as hard, he doesn't have those driving lanes, and then he's probably missing three-point shots, and that gets into his head and can affect other areas of his game. And although he can improve mentally and still remain engaged when he's having horrible stretches from the three-point line, it would be better if he could just improve his three-point shot and become a 36, 37, or 38% three-point shooter, because then he's a big help for the team, especially as a small ball stretch 4 who's athletic, can rebound the ball a little bit, and probably has the best defensive fit at that position. Now, his struggles did land him outside of the rotation in the postseason in 2019, but I still have hope for him going forward that he can be a good piece off the bench for a playoff team. When you look at Al-Farouq Aminu's free agency this summer and the potential that he could be let go in order to save money to sign a guy with the full mid-level exception, Jake Layman may need to step in and fill that small ball 4 role off the bench. Our big rotation is extremely fluid and Layman's going to be needed next season, so he needs to be somebody that can help make things easier on Dame and CJ, and somebody that can knock down threes is always going to do just that. The other part of his game he really needs to focus on is on that defensive end, because I think the ceiling for him is a very good 3 and D stretch 4 who can shoot and defend at an above average level and whose athleticism is able to change the game. Now, his lateral quickness isn't bad for a guy his size that plays the forward spot. The biggest problem I saw with him on the defensive end was a lack of awareness. That's kind of a hard thing to fix, and he's going to need to watch a lot of film and try and figure out how his lack of awareness is hurting him, and try and figure out ways where he can be more aware as a team defender in the construct of a team defense, which could help him impact the team in a positive way defensively. So all in all, Jake Layman had a very interesting 2018-2019 season, and through the All-Star break, he was looking definitely like the most improved Trailblazer, and that's even with Jusuf Nurkic taking a big step in his game. But that post-All-Star break was a terrible stretch from him, and looked a lot like the Jake Layman from the first 2 years of his career. So what he is going into year 4, I don't really know. If he works hard this summer, I think he can consistently become the player that we saw at the start of the season, but we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, that's my Jake Layman player review. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And that's a wrap for the video. I hope you enjoyed. This has been Tori. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Go Blazers.